Welcome to Time to Press Pause, a podcast for CEOs by CEOs. I'm your host, Ellen Williams, CEO of the Salient Strategist, and today I'm speaking with Bonnie-Lyn de Bartok. Bonnie-Lyn is founder and CEO of the Social Factor Data Company. She is a highly accomplished expert in social risk, performance, and impact measurement and management with 25 years of experience across 60 countries. She has advised governments, investors, corporations, and non-governmental organizations, resulting in numerous awards for her entrepreneurial and technological contributions to the social risk and quantitative fields. Bonnie-Lyn's work has been featured in prominent international publications, and she has been a speaker at prestigious events, including the G20 Summit. Welcome, Bonnie-Lyn. It's a pleasure to meet you, and it's great to have you here on Time to Press Pause.
Thank you very much for having me and reaching out. It's a great platform to actually stop and think about when you do pause. It was a good exercise, so thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's just dive right in then. Excited to hear about your Press Pause story.
Thank you. You know what? I hadn't thought about this at all until you reached out with the concept, which I think is really good because I know that I press pause regularly and I know that I've had 3 big ones for our business over the years in 14 years, but I don't think I've ever stopped to put it to words before. Pressing pause. Over the weekend, as busy as my schedule is, I had to stop for a few minutes and think about what I might talk about. That's a small pause. We've been in business 15 years and we've done 2 major pivots. If I have to think about what pause means, it's a step back and a recalibration, like a rethink and maybe even a total redo. Since 2009, when we established the company, we've had 3 major pauses, 2 forced ones where we weren't listening and life just forced us to pause, and 1 preemptive one. So I think that I'm actually learning something from this before we get to the forced pause. So from 2009 to 2014, I was really at my peak in a new business. And when I think about the level that I was operating at, I was hosting about 8 to 16 meetings a day. I attended several events per week. I was likely in a new city most weeks. Over the 25 years leading to this, I was working in 60 different countries in this capacity. So I was on all the time, all the time. I'm Canadian based and I had clients in Australia and I would answer the phone at 3 a.m. and keep going. So I had a 24-hour workday and I never stopped. I was also a lot younger then. At one time, I had 35 projects running in 8 different countries. And I had a go bag of supplies and I literally would run in the door, dump 1 bag, grab another bag, repack, and I'd be gone a few hours later. I had a room just for supplies, just for doing that.
So you had a system to be 24-hour go-getter.
Yes, nonstop. And it was crazy. And then things started to manifest within my body. The adrenal crashes. Eventually, my back went out, my kidneys crapped out. I was on the floor in my office, and I had an assistant then, which is also a crazy thought these days. But my assistant had to go and get a chiropractor and bring him to the office to release my back so I could get up and walk out to go home, and one of my employees had to drive me home. I was on the floor trying to meet a deadline for 5 p.m.
Oh my goodness.
My assistant put my laptop on the floor so I could finish the report and hit send.
And that felt perfectly normal and the right thing to do.
Everybody thought it was funny. They were
Everybody thought
like,
it was
"You're
funny.
crazy. You're a machine. And the client was like, "Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?" It was a report that would approve both financing and permit for the operation to move. It was a 3.5-year undertaking, and this was the final deadline, and everything was crashing. So,
Including you.
including me. And it was funny because the reaction from family, friends, employees was all over the map. You need to get up. You need to go to work. To, you need to take a break. Don't worry about it. To employees leaving.
Wow.
Like this is too much. They were also burning out. I had 1 or 2 employees just leave because they were also burning out. They were not willing to work that hard. And I couldn't understand because the deadline was on Friday. Nobody leaves before a deadline. What do you mean? right? That used to be my work ethic. That used to be my whole adult life to that point. So that was the first big one. That was a forced pause. From there, we lost clients, we lost employees, we had clients not paying us, we had employees going to clients. The whole thing exploded from there. So when I did pause, it fell apart. And the mental process of having to accept that was crazy. And it was huge. We were globally recognized. We had won dozens of awards. We had huge contracts. We were winning business from the big guys. We were at our peak, and it just imploded. So that was my first big one. When you said pause, I was like, oh, that was a big pause, because I had to accept it and I had to take a break and I had to just let it be what it was. And we had to take your foot off the gas pedal and literally just stop and unplug, no matter what. It just was what it was, and it was just going to happen. So in hindsight, what a crazy ride. And I never would have stopped if my body didn't stop me. But it forced me to I took several months off. I think it was 4 or 5 months. And I went into I call it my rabbit hole. I isolate. I go internal, went to 30,000 feet and reviewed everything we had done, which I had not stopped to do at that point, to realize that we were kind of in an echo chamber, same pitch, same client, same process, same da-da-da. It became a repeatable process that others were just starting to emulate because it was successful. They were stealing our stuff, our content, our people, because it was successful and they wanted to take it, and there was nothing I could do about it, really. Which was also okay, how do I keep my IP from walking out the door? I need to automate what I'm doing so that my IP is in the system and not walking out the front door. And with that, so at the time, that was 2014, 2015, really, by the time I came out of that little chamber. And what I had done is I reinvented the whole business with the exact same subject expertise. Big data was new. New technologies were emerging. Can I automate what we are actually doing? We were building social management systems, auditing social management systems. Is there enough data in the world whereby I can automate, 80, 90% of what we're doing to create what ultimately became a data product, and then a rating system, and the rating system became indexes, and the indexes started proving performance. And so this whole second business, it really was a new business registered under the new business, we now became a data technology company. So that entire innovation was reborn. New people, new brand, new business. We literally rolled all of that experience into a new project, and it wouldn't have been if not for that pause. So then came 4 years building the data product and all of the tools and solutions, and we won again dozens of globally recognized awards. I won first place in UBS's Future of Finance Award out of 400 fintechs, which just blew my mind, right? Like, I had to learn the coding language, had to learn the fintech language, the technology, the quantitative language, so on. And we won a huge award in private asset management on Park Avenue in New York, ball gowns, the whole bit. I had, like, my whole world exploded. This is going to be so big. This is huge. And that was in February of 2020. And I came back to Toronto to a big mining conference, and COVID hit.
Yeah.
Hit. I had 42 betas with the largest asset managers in the world signed up to test this product, this highly anticipated product, and I lost all of it. From March of 2020 through to September of 2020, it all disappeared. We did not have clients or burn or investment to survive that. This was 4 years of investment, micro investments. A couple of angels invested in this technology with us, and we had to drag out that burn 3 more years before it came back. Then it was inflation, then it was war, then it was anti-ESG sentiment, and we kept having to tuck and roll, reinvent, pivot, restructuring the same content and the same information 10 different ways. Nobody wants your data. Nobody knows what to do with it. It's too much. It's too early. Nobody's into social. Nobody, So we were in echo chamber with this pitch. It was just falling on deaf ears. So then we had to pivot again, and we came up with COVID data, and a bunch of investors just stole the information and traded on it as their own without any recognition. So we were back on this treadmill and this cycle that I was in with the previous business. Even my investors were saying, you got to shut this down. You're not closing anywhere. It's just chaos. Spraying and praying on the treadmill with no runway. We had to accept that as a next major pause. Like, what we're doing is not working. The timing is off. Prioritizations and chaos in the markets globally are all over the map. We had a couple of companies try to buy us, and for whatever reason got shifted in a different direction, and none of the deals closed. ESG's cool, ESG's not cool, ESG's cool, ESG's not cool.
I
We're
rode
in, you're out,
that
you're in, you're
roller
out.
coaster for a while too. Yeah.
You're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, you're cool, you're not cool, you're cool, you're not in. We had to survive all of that, which was just constant innovation. Okay, guys, Monday morning, we got to rethink this. Okay, we got to reposition this. Okay, all right, nobody knows what to do with the data. What can we synthesize where it's more digestible? Can we create some indexes? Can they just buy the indexes? So none of it worked out. It was basically an 8-year burn. I don't know how we actually did it. It was kind of a forced pause and kind of an acceptance and a realization that, okay, we need to stop the bleeding because we're just burning money. We have so much interest, and we've spent months and even years with some of the same clients working towards building products together, and it kept just disappearing. I stepped back voluntarily this time and turn the feeds off to let people go. But what was so interesting is when I reviewed that period of time from the rebuild, we had created so much value, like the data, the technology, the tools, the systems, the algorithms, the quant, well, maybe we can sell this. There's value in it. Somebody will buy this. Nope. So I've had to reinvent it again. I can't let that die. It's 15 years worth of work. We're trying to teach investors how to use the data and the tools so that they can build them into their portfolios and make money and hedge their books and rebalance things, and, inclusive of the social factors in ESG and so on. And they're like, do you have anything for climate? So yes, social's a hot topic, but the world really doesn't know what that means yet. We talk about diversity and equity as though it were equal to social, and we're starting the process of collecting information. We've got 10 years worth of data and performance on a whole plethora of social risk issues across the spectrum of human rights and ethics and supply chains and health and safety and employee, and so on. It's way bigger than DEI, and we are 20 years ahead of the game here. So then I kept trying to prove this performance to investors. I'm like an echo chamber. They're like, this is really cool, but like, we don't really do, why don't you just run your own fund? And I heard it so many times. And then there was all kinds of objections to that. Investors are saying, well, you can't just be a PM. Well, I couldn't just be a global consultant either, but I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just quant, but I did it. Couldn't just code, but I did it. So why not? My fund is outperforming the market. We are tracking 8 to 9% over market with an 8-year history. Hedge funds aren't doing that. Why am I not my own hedge fund? So in the last, well, I guess year, at least 6 months for sure, we have been building a hedge fund. And we have pivoted again. But this was a voluntary pivot, a voluntary pause, a voluntary rethink. I was a rower back in the day, in my uni days. Through rowing, you learn when to push and when to pace. So I think I've learned a lot from that. I think that attitude is everything.
Fascinating.
I think
I have to pause. I have to pause you because I'm trying to take this all in. I have to pause and think. Your story is fascinating. Your experience and what you've been able to do with all the various pauses, some thrust upon you. And I love that you said earlier, we weren't listening. So you were in your own, can't see the forest through the trees sort of thing. And now it feels like not only are you listening, but you're listening to your intuition, your gut, to yourself, what brought you here. It sounds like the extreme highs and lows. Sounds like you did really well, and then it all came crashing down. And certainly having that happen more than once is not easy to recover from. So bravo and congratulations and perseverance and fortitude and just knowledge. Hopefully this time you're in the right place at the right time.
The market will meet us at some point. We hear this relentlessly from successful entrepreneurs. Consistency is key. Never quitting is key. Get up, dress up, show up. Attitude is everything. Delusional optimism helps. Learn to rest, not to quit. It's continuous improvement.
Very inspiring that you did. You just kept getting up. You kept the ball rolling, even though it was in a slightly different direction. And now you've culminated everything over the years to be in this amazing position.
It's not for the faint of heart. Most could not stomach this. Most wouldn't put themselves in certain risk, personal risk, financial risk, to keep going when everybody else thinks you should stop.
What advice do you have to CEOs as far as when they can identify when to press pause?
Most CEOs have some KPIs, some key performance indicators that are business related. It becomes a recipe for success. How much return did you get for your effort? Personally, as a CEO, my early warning signs, which I learned from my big pause in 2014 where my body quit. When I go through a period of when it starts getting difficult to get up in the morning, when your eyes are puffy and your hair doesn't go and you forget to put the coffee mug under the coffee maker in the morning and you're struggling to get out the door and like a whole bunch of things aren't working out. You sound like an echo chamber with the same pitch and there's no closes. When you're kerfuffled and it's not working, that for me is my early warning sign to stop. Take a break, even if it's like a couple days, unplug, fresh air, exercise, rehydrate, go for a massage, get a facial, do whatever you need to do to recalibrate. Go to 30,000 feet, review how many people you've talked to in the last 4 months. Like if I had 165 pitches and like with no closes, and what we're doing is not working. Do a quick evaluation of why. I just make a list of all the things that that I thought I needed to follow up on, and then I let it go. I literally let it go. And if I come back, 4 days later, a week later, maybe it's 2 weeks later in some cases, and I look at the list, like nothing was important. Huge for me before I left. And none of that matters. Like we got to reprioritize. New list. New list. Reprioritize. Okay. No, we had a little bit of traction over there and none over there. Let's just pivot like this way and re-engage them and say, why did you think this about the product? Can you open that up for me a little bit? Let me understand this a little bit. Like, what is the problem that's on your desk? In every instance, I build myself a dashboard. If I can't fit my whole story into one page that I'm looking at from 30,000 feet, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am. I don't know where I've been. I don't know where I'm going. So I don't have a plan, but I have a goalpost, right?
That's great advice. Build a dashboard. If you can't explain what's going on in one screen, then it's time to reevaluate. Bonnie, this has been terrific. I really appreciate how much you've shared. I know I've learned. I'm sure people listening have learned, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on Time to Press Pause.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. It's great. It's been a great exercise. You made me stop to think about this, and actually, it's a really good exercise. We should do it more, I think.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Time to Press Pause. To learn more about Bonnie-Lyn de Bartok, go to thesfactor.co. To learn more about me, go to thesalientstrategist.com. And be sure to join us again wherever you listen to your podcasts.